Hey there, thanks for joining me here. It's Linda. It's the Life Sucks Cookbook again, and we're heading into Christmas. Season's greetings, happy holidays. And so I've put on sparkly stuff, reindeer earrings. I only wear sparkly things for Christmas and for International Donut Day. Only 2 times of the year that I really deck myself out. I'm going to tell you some stories. We're going to bake something. Oh, I've baked it already. I knew you were coming. These are called melting moments. My mom used to make these when I was a teenager or whatever. I don't know where she got the recipe. I can't find it now. It's gone. However, I did find one in some magazine. They're not quite the same, of course. And then what also makes them not quite the same is I'm making them. If I told you everything that I've done wrong with these things today, I'm going to change the name of this YouTube to Linda Sucks at Cooking. I forgot a few things and I made them too big. But we're going to stick these things together later on. But today, I want to talk about sort of like the worst Christmas gifts that you've received, you've given. Think about that. Let me know in the comments. Everybody gives bad gifts. You think it's such a good idea. It's not. I'll tell you one of the worst gifts I got. I think this was like the first Christmas gift that my husband Bob gave to me. It was a vegetable steamer. Now, I'm not talking about a plug-in vegetable steamer, if they exist. This was like those baskets that open up and close that you put inside another pot to steam your vegetables. And so when I opened it up, it was in a box that said vegetable steamer. Now, at first I thought, oh, well, this is not a vegetable steamer, because my dad, when he would wrap up Christmas presents, quite often if they were smaller, he'd sort of do a psych out thing where he'd put it in bigger boxes, and so you'd open it up and you think, oh, I'm getting a rake for Christmas. And then it would be some. So I think, oh, I've got something great coming here, a piece of jewelry, something like that. I open this up. I take out the vegetable steamer. I had to act. Oh, this is great. I must have said I needed a vegetable steamer. This is great. I still married him. He improved over time. I have to say that. You have to learn. And he did. But the thing is, I have also given terrible gifts. And I think the worst gift that I've ever given anybody was to my dad many years ago. Late 80s, the family cats that I'd had growing up, they were all gone. They didn't have pets anymore, which I'm sure they were thrilled about. But my dad was an animal lover, even though he really didn't know how to take care of them. He had, over the years, brought home a couple of injured birds. One of them was a pigeon, probably had a broken wing. It was drooping, and I guess it wasn't flying. So Dad brought it home, wrapped him up, kept it in the basement. Guess we fed it, or he fed it. Something. Not a good idea to bring home a pigeon. He did heal this bird and then he let it go. We called him Walter Pigeon, because there was an old actor. His name was Walter Pigeon. So we called him Walter. But you now have a pigeon staying in your place for, I don't know how long we had him, maybe a couple of weeks in the basement, and we let him go. He is now a homing pigeon and he came back every day. I mean, we fed him, we put a seed out there and we fed. Oh, and let me just digress for a moment in talking about homing pigeons. This is a little grammar thing, and I know nobody likes the grammar police. I know that, but I don't care. There has been something going on for quite a while now that is driving me crazy. I see people on television, I hear them on radio, hosts of shows, reporters, whatever. When they talk about zeroing in, focusing in on something, they say we're honing in. That is not the word. It's homing in. Pretty sure it comes from homing pigeons. You home in on a target. Honing is sharpening. You hone a knife. You hone your skills. The way to remember this is you need to hone your grammar skills so that you know when to use homing in. I know I'm off on a tangent, but that's been making me nuts. Okay, I'm gonna ice cookies, but let me know about those words that drive you crazy, because it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. The pigeon, he hung around, we fed him. Then he took off for a long time, and we thought he'd gone. Got sick of our seed, wasn't the right blend. The reason he left was he'd gone looking for a girlfriend and came back with the girlfriend and the kids. So now we've got, I don't know how many pigeons hanging around. Just a word of warning, if you ever want to take in a wounded pigeon, By the way, this is what we're doing with these cookies. You have to stick them together with butter icing like that, like a little cookie sandwich. I have made these cookies way too big. So it's just like that. Magic of television. Somebody else is finishing up. Martha. I have Martha in the back here finishing off my cookies. I watched a Martha Stewart show back in the 90s, and she was doing poached eggs. I'm digressing again, I know. She was making these poached eggs. She wouldn't use a cup or anything. She dropped the egg in the water, and when she took those eggs out, she trimmed them with scissors. There's something wrong there if you're trimming eggs with scissors. Anyway, worst gift I ever gave to my father one year. The cats are gone. They are childless. They are animalless. Truly an empty nest. And I thought it would be a great idea, because he loved these birds so much, to get him a bird to fill that nest. So I found him a very small parrot. It was called a Quaker parakeet, but it kind of looked like a parrot. It's green, like the size of a cockatiel, not a cockatoo, cockatiel, with a shorter tail. So I got this bird, the cage, all the gear, everything. Big cage, so it could feel like it had some space. I probably could just as easily have bought them a dolphin for how much they wanted this bird. It was insane. It may have been little, but that thing was noisy. Oh God, it was kind of a baby. I mean, it was sort of full grown, but teenager when I got it. And its beak looked a little like a platypus beak. They said nothing at the pet store about this. She said, oh, just probably needs to scratch on the cuddle bone more. That wasn't what was going on there. It was some sort of weird thing in its DNA that the beak always grew wide. So it had to be trimmed. So I had to keep taking this bird to get the beak trimmed every, I don't know how many weeks. My dad sort of, as he tried to train it, they had birds years, and like in the 50s when my mom and dad first got together. I never liked birds. For some reason, I just never could warm up to these birds, because we had a budgie too when I was a teenager. Got to the point where there was a mouse in the house. And my dad at nighttime would sit with the bird on his knee, and he'd feed him sunflower seeds, just one after the other. Of course, the bird loved this. I learned later on that sunflower seeds, it's like giving them cocaine. It makes them sort of crazy. He was already loud enough. Now he's hopped up on sunflower seeds. At nighttime, once he was in the cage, the mouse was coming up to my dad's little table next to his chair, and the mouse would get there and go, oh my God, someone's left a smorgasbord out for me. This is fantastic. And so just all night, back and forth, and he was hiding these sunflower seeds in the sofa under the cushions. So my mom went one day to vacuum the sofa out, and now she finds sunflower seeds and other little gifts that mice like to leave. And so they were mortified by this, had to get rid of the mouse. And also, the funny thing too was, one day I went over there and he had a little bit of blood, not my dad, the bird had a bit of blood on his chest, on the feathers. And we thought, well, that's really weird. And then after we found out we had this mouse, I thought, I'll bet you this mouse somehow was climbing up into the cage to get the seed. And the bird was fighting it out with this mouse to protect its gold. Anyway, the bird had to go. I had to find a bird person. Sold the bird and the cage and whatever for pennies on the dollar, just to get him to a place where I'm sure he lived out the rest of his life very happily. She really loved birds. She had tons of birds. She let them fly all over their house. Not for me. Not for me. I really think they probably didn't thank me for that bird. And I realized that's something I would never do again. And I didn't. Although I did get my husband a cat for Christmas one year, although I gave him a certificate. He went and took the certificate to the shelter and picked out the cat afterwards. And that cat peed on everything in his home. Merry Christmas, Bob! Ay. So there you go. Those are my worst Christmas gift stories. I mean, there probably are more. We'll get to those next Christmas. I got to keep something for you. Not bad. Tasty. Very shortbready. The recipe in the description. No, hang on. The recipe, the link to the recipe. Like, this is so hard to remember. The link to the recipe will be in the description. You'll do a much better job than me, of course, always. Thanks for sitting in with me and joining me while I tell these stories. Have a great holiday season. So good to hang out with you, and I'll see you next time on the Life Sucks Cookbook, or Linda Sucks at Cooking. I hope no mouse comes to your place this Christmas and leaves any gifts for you.